Ford 4.0 liter V6, single overhead cam, timing chain and guide replacement. This is a used engine with 84,000 miles on it. I'm doing the timing chains and guides as a preventative measure before I put it into the car. This is a Mustang engine, the only difference being that there's most likely not going to be a balance shaft chain on it. I'll get more into that when I get to that point. But if you experience an engine failure and your engine jump time, it's an interference engine, so if it jumped time, you're going to want to see which bank jumped time and then do the valves on that bank, head gasket. And I'll show you how to check time in just a minute. Also, if you go in there and you experienced a timing chain cassette failure, you're going to want to go underneath, take the lower oil pan off, and if the pickup's plugged up, then the engine's been starved of oil and you may have damage that's been done to the main bearings and rod bearings, potentially. What I suggest doing then is getting a used engine and doing the timing job on it, such as what I'm doing here. Some of you guys already know how bad my old engine was. Anyway, let's continue on. A couple of basic things I'm going to do here off camera, just in an effort to speed things up and not make the video so long and drawn out. I'm going to pull both valve covers off. You need a deep 8mm. Gets all the fasteners off there on both sides. 8mm. I'm going to take the intake manifold off. If you look down in these recessed holes here, there's Torx 30 right here. Another one there. And there's a whole other row of them on this side too, as you can see. Then the intake manifold will come up. You got the thermostat housing here. Once the intake is out of the way, 1, 2, and 3 8mm bolts. And you come down in the front and the water pump's held on with 8mm bolts. Just follow that around the perimeter. You may need to take the pulley off to get to, I believe, one of the bolts because that'll get in the way there. I'm going to go ahead and get to that point here in just a jiffy. One final thing, I recommend blowing compressed air up in here, get all the dust and debris out of the way so it doesn't fall down into the intake valves or into the engine when everything's opened up. You want everything to sort of be clean here. Okay. Apparently, when you sell an engine on eBay, this is what you do with NOx sensors. Oh my goodness. Alright guys, I kind of jumped ahead a little bit here. If you look on the screen now, I'll show you what it looks like with me pulling the harmonic balancer pulley off. One thing I do want to point out and recommend when you do that is to use a cylinder head bolt. This is what works out ideally for me because it doesn't actually thread into the threads on the crank pulley. It just sits in there. And then you can press against that to pull the pulley off by using the tool. Alright, so I do have the timing cover off here. Valve covers, intake manifold. If you're wondering what this is, I had some pitting on my head here where the thermostat housing seals. It's a used engine. So that's some JB Weld steel stick I've got on there. I'm going to sand it later, make it even. Anyway, first thing I'm going to do here is see if I'm at top dead center. What I recommend is getting these timing tools. I'll put an Amazon link in the description below. They're like 50 bucks and they're going to save you a huge hassle. If you're curious, the crank pulley I had on there was a Dorman, and that's why it looks so different. And I noticed there's really nowhere to put the tool in there, so good thing I've got my factory pulley off my other engine. There's a little slot right there for the keyway, right here. You need to make sure the keyway is at about 12 o'clock. That's one way to know for sure that you're at top dead center. I'm sorry that the engine's at an angle like that, just the way it is. Stick this on. And there we have it here. I do have the original crank pulley on. This is the tool here. If you notice, one of the teeth on here has an extra wide gap. That's where this tooth on the tool aligns with. Then on the other side, it just lines up with one of the other teeth. You snug these up here. And then this notch here is supposed to come to the end of the block, and it is. It's resting right against it. Therefore, the crank is at number 1, top dead center. And another way to see, once again, is that this Woodruff key is at top dead center. Straight up at 12 o'clock. Now that we know that we're at top dead center on the crank, here's bank 1 right here. If you look here, there's a kind of a U shape right here and right here with a cutout in the middle on each side. The smaller of the U shape should be on the bottom like this, and the cutout right here should be flush with the head. And as you can see, it is. Therefore, that bank is at top dead center. That is bank 1. Come on back here to bank 2. Notice the same thing. It is also level with the head, and the smaller U shape is at the bottom. Another thing you can do, this is pointing straight up right here. That's a way to tell that it's at top dead center. And over here on bank 1, there's a flat spot that is on the top side. That is at top dead center. Of course, later on when we're putting everything back together, I will show you the tools to hold this at time. But now, at the moment, we're just making sure the engine didn't jump time. This is an interference engine, so if your timing is off, you may reconsider just doing the timing chains. All right, well, I think the next thing I'm going to do here is break loose the bolts for the cam gears, cam sprocket. The one on bank 1 that's in the back there is reverse thread, and this is standard thread. They are 19 millimeter. I'm just going to go ahead and break them loose like this. Try not to strip them out. It helps having two hands. I'm holding the camera with one. There we go. Go in the forward direction, because this is reverse thread once again. Put a little pressure on it so it doesn't slip. There we go. It's loose. Next thing I'm going to do here is break loose the tensioners. Now this is the front bank, and bank 2 in other words. This is what the tensioner looks like right here. Slide an adjustable wrench on it. It is a 27 millimeter, but here we go. I'm going to break this loose. All right. And here's the rear bank right here. It doesn't have that rod sticking out of it there. There we go. Okay. All right, just needed both hands on that one there. As you can see, that's broke loose. Go ahead and start taking these out all the way by hand. I'm going to go ahead and say on these tensioners, put them in and take them out by hand, just to be safe. You don't want to strip out the threads on the head there. Take it out slowly. Almost. And there we go. That is the bank 2 tensioner. My new timing kit did come with some of these, so get the bank 1 off right here. Bank 1 tensioner. You can start to see it kind of rotate a little bit as I go out. There it is. I do believe the next thing I'm going to do here is break loose this Jackshaft bolt right here in the center of the camera. It is an E18 external Torx. It is a one-time use bolt. Both of the bolts for this front Jackshaft timing gear and the one on the back, which I'll show you later, are one-time use. They're stretch bolts. They need to be replaced. However, bolts like this and this, you can reuse those, and this. That's not torque de-yield. There we go. All right, well, that's broken loose. I do want to go ahead and just for now, just keep it threaded in a little bit. I'm not ready to take that off yet. I do believe next I'm going to go ahead and break loose the rear Jackshaft bolt. It's behind this plug. Get yourself a screwdriver and a hammer, a flathead screwdriver. Go in there, knock this plug out. There's the hammer I used there and my flathead screwdriver. Come on, get on out of there. There we go. It's one-time use. That is going to expose our Torx bolt right there. Torx 55 and 2 zigzags. Baby, that's all I need. Another reason you want to break these cam bolts loose first, cam sprocket bolts, is because when you're messing around trying to break bolts loose and stuff like that, it's going to turn the chain possibly. And if you notice here that the cam isn't turning, same with this one right here. So that's really good. She was pretty tight. All right, so here's what I did. I broke it loose with this T55, and with my right hand, I grabbed this timing tool here, held upwards as hard as I could, and I was able to break it loose. Now do take note, I did have to snug this bolt back up here, the E18, just temporarily, because otherwise the Jackshaft would spin independently of the gear here. So just snug that bolt back down and you're good to go. I'm going to take this rear Jackshaft bolt out now. Whoops. Once again, that's a one-time use. If you go in the description below, I'll put the part numbers for the one-time use bolts down there. That's what it looks like in there without it. Take this one back off now. At this point, I do believe I'll go ahead and take this timing tool off and the crank gear right here. Get that out of the way because I want to strip all this off. This crank pulley's a bear. She don't want to come off. There we go. All right, I mean, if you're working on a 4x4 car, then you'll have a secondary chain here that comes off right here and goes down to a balance shaft. Now, for my research, You don't actually need a balance shaft chain. It's not going to shake it or anything, but if you want to replace that little chain too, you can knock this woodruff key out once this chain's out, and then slowly work that gear off and rotate it, and that'll get the balance shaft chain off, and you can replace it. Do note there's a balance shaft guide that goes here, and a balance shaft tensioner that you can pull out from the bottom like that, pull out, and then put the new one in like that. However, you can just take the chain off if you want to, and drive it without it. From all my research, you don't actually need it on there. All right, let's get these 8mm bolts off right here for the Jackshaft chain tensioner. Careful not to drop them down your oil pan like I did. Okay. Luckily, I don't have the balance shaft. I was able to go in and grab it. I'm going to keep the bolts with the components that I take off. I do believe those bolts go to 89 inch-pounds, and these go to 14 foot-pounds, if I remember right. These are 10mm. Next, I'm going to go ahead and get this E18 off. One-time use. Take this Jackshaft gear off. I'll work it around the lower one. Oh, they did not make this easy. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and have to take this woodruff key out. I have a flathead screwdriver. What I'm going to do is try to pry under here and not pull it up. I may need to punch up with a hammer on the other end of the screwdriver. Now when you go back in with this woodruff key, you just need to tap downwards right here. It self-centers, self-levels and all that, as long as you punch it down all the way. Tap, 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 tap. Don't lose that. Now I'm going to go ahead and slide this crank sprocket off, along with the chain. There we go. Take this down and set it the same way that you take it off, because if you notice here, it's two different sort of sides to it. This is the side that goes inward like this, with the recess right there. Half the stuff I do for you guys, half the stuff I do so I can look back and realize where I went wrong. All right, well, there's the primary timing chain. Go ahead and sit it down here, because why not? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take the Bank 2 chain and guide setup out now. Make sure I've got my tensioner out. Take this bolt the rest of the way out. Once again, this is a reusable bolt here. Sit that right there. And that kind of just comes right off of there. Set it aside. And if you look here, here's a 10mm bolt. And then right here is a Torx 30. Take those both out. You see these metal area right here? That's part of the guide for the timing chain. Now when you're ready to slide the guides and chains out, do make sure that you take a pry bar and pry outward, kind of like that, and deform that, bend it a little bit so that it can slide out, because otherwise it's going to get stuck in the cylinder head and you're going to get frustrated. Okay. When I go back together with all this stuff, I'm going to put torque specs on the screen. There we go. Do make sure that your seals are in good condition on these. There's another one just like this in the back, and you want to make extra sure that the seal's in good condition, or just replace the seal, because you would have to remove the transmission to get to that bolt. Okay, I set that upper sprocket aside right there. And then if you notice, the chain and the Jackshaft sprocket came out through the bottom here. This is the sprocket that goes right here. Go ahead and sit this down here. And like I said, you want to go in here and pry outward on this right here to deform the guide a little bit so you can slide it out. You take note of any falling debris that comes off of them. Fish it out. Let me show you why you want to deform and bend that. You can sort of see there in the middle of the camera where it's kind of binding on the block. Right there in the center where it kind of pivots. That gets stuck on the block, and you want to bend it outward so you can pull this. Oh, there it comes. Hey! There she is. When you go back in with it, I'll show you. You put the chain in between these two, the guide and the tensioner there. Come on to the back here. I'm going to take the Torx 30 out for the timing chain tensioner back here. I will need to get a ratchet on that because this won't reach. And then the other side right here is a Torx 30 as well. take that loose. However, you might want to go ahead and loosen the bottom one first so that I can get a little more movement, because if I just loosen this right now, it's going to crack this cassette right here, because you see how the washer is kind of inside this notch. If I back that out right there, it might crack that and put debris down in the engine. So, all right, if you notice, I did have to remove one of the legs of the engine stand here so I can access this SOHC 30 lower guide mounting bolt here. Okay. This is the bolt that I mentioned earlier with the seal that you need to make 110% sure that is in good condition. But here it is, I'm taking it out. There we go. It does appear the seal is in good condition, so at my own risk, I'm going to reuse it. Loosen this top one here. That thing I said earlier about that cracking, that's not to be of concern because this bolt moves separately from this sleeve right here. Please excuse me, I'm the transmission tech usually. Take this bolt the rest of the way out here. Righty-loosey, lefty-tighty in this situation. Reusable. Take the sprocket off of here, out of the chain. Don't drop it. And it does go in like that. All right, I'm going to start with taking these guides out first. Comes out there. And that is the side of it that goes on the left here. And one side of the chain goes through it right there, as you saw just a moment ago. Once again, that's where that bolt goes. So it's right here. Take this side of the guide out now. There we go. Don't worry, you'll have a better understanding of this when I go back together with it. All right, here's the chain right here. If you remember, on this other side, there's a sprocket that was bolted to the jack shaft right there. I'm going to kind of guide that over the jack shaft flange right there and pull outward at the same time to get this out as one. Oh, there it comes. There she is. Set that right here. Once again, that is the sprocket that goes on the jack shaft, and this is the orientation it goes on, like that. That's the way it goes. So this portion right here with the little gear-looking things on it is what shows on the outside. All these chains have been in good condition so far, and I mean, honestly, the guides as well. I mean, this one's got a little bit of wear, a lot of bit of wear on it, but all right, well, at this point, all your timing components are taken off, so congrats for being at the halfway point. All right, I am going through my kit here. If you're curious, this is an SA gear kit. It's supposed to be a rebranded Melling, so that's why I got it. It was like 150 bucks. Go through what we've got here, get it all where we need to get it. This is the tensioner for the primary timing chain for the front, the Jackshaft timing chain. This is the actual chain itself. This does appear to be the guide. I'm going to keep that in one spot, made in Taiwan. Wonderful. Keep this all together. Once again, this is for the chain, the big one that goes from here to here. It does appear that my kit comes with these oil flow reducers. In order to replace those, should be right there, that SOHC 30 right there next to the tensioner, next to that little hole right there that the oil flow comes from. You can remove that if you want to and pull it out with tweezers, or excuse me, needle nose pliers, and slide it out, put the new one in. Does come with a new screw there. That copper washer, that's actually for the tensioner when you go back together with it. I've got some mechanical fingers here. Oh, this is not fun. Come on, get it. Oh. Okay, this is the type of pliers I used here, and I just took my time, and here it is, right here. I'm going to insert the new one in and put that new bolt in as well, that SOHC 30 bolt. There we go, it's tight. Come over here to the other bank and do the same thing. Okay, never mind, that tube thing was only in that right bank there, so this rear bank, you can go ahead and just put that plug back in. And here we go, last thing in the box. It's the cam gear drive assemblies. Let's call it that and sound fancy. These are the chains and guides for the cam gears. And if you look here, they actually come with new cam gears and drive gears. This is going to be the one that goes on the front one here. I do believe I'm going to go ahead and snip these two zip ties holding it together, and I will need both hands to slide it down in there. The gears are directional. Make sure that this side is facing outward for the cam gear. Right here. This is what it looks like on the side that goes against the cam. Okay, and on the bottom here, this is the side that goes outward. And this is the side that goes against the jack shaft. See how it's kind of recessed in there? It matches on here and kind of just pops on. It's a perfect fit. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get this front timing chain guide in here. Now, a little tip. Remember how when we pulled it out, we had to bend and deform that to let it clear? Well, I've got this cat claw right here. And without the chain in here, so that you have more access, you just kind of rest this right on that collar that you bent up earlier. And lightly tap it with a hammer, and then it'll fall down into place. Then you can slide your chain down in there. Don't be like me and try to get the chain and the guides in there at the same time, because then you'll end up kinking up some links. I can't find it now. I kind of damaged it a little bit. All right, I'm going to take my new cam sprocket and my new chain, sit it down inside here, in between the guide and the tensioner, drop the chain down, pop it onto the cam sprocket. Okay. Take my bolt here and just run it in a few threads so nothing falls apart. Actually, I'm just going to run it down almost flush. All right, if you look here, that's about where the bolt goes right there. So food for thought. Go ahead and get this jack shaft sprocket in here, shall we? I need a third hand. All right, so get that popped onto there we go. You'll feel it. It's popped onto the jack shaft now. And naturally, this bolt lines up right here now. All right, apparently 14 foot-pounds, 9 foot-pounds, according to the shop manual. All right, in case you were confused earlier about this rear timing chain setup here. All right, so it's kind of how it goes in here, just like that. The left side of the chain does go through this notch on the guide here, right here. That right there is where that upper sleeve kind of pops into, and that upper timing chain retaining bolt, timing chain guide. Then this right here in the center of the camera, that hole where this bolt goes through here, the lower mounting bolt, that other Torx 30 there. And then that sprocket right there goes on the jack shaft. So what do you say we snip these zip ties? I should be able to, in theory, slide this down in there. Let's go. That's what it looks like. Be careful not to drop anything and have it get discombobulated. I'd like to let it stay where it is right now with everything in the right spot. I'm going to rotate the engine like that so that gravity helps me line up that gear back here. Oh my goodness, some of you astute viewers may have noticed that I put that bottom sprocket in backwards. Like I said earlier, those kind of teeth looking things showing you outside there. And so I did learn something here. Drop the chain in by itself first, below where the cam jackshaft sprocket flange is. Then drop that gear in, that one right there. Just drop it down in there. Then you won't have to hammer, punch, or mess with anything. Just drop the chain in first, and then drop that gear in, get it onto the flange there. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and start the bolt right there, the new bolt. Just to keep it there where it won't go anywhere. And next, I'm going to go ahead and slide this chain off of here and move these two guides down. Here's where I'm at on that. There we go. Get this bolt hole lined up. It's about there. This camera will not focus. There we go. All right, this is that lower guide bolt here. And as you can see, straight in the middle of the camera, zoom in please. All right, you see that thing with the, right there. Put that in. That secures the guide in there. Get this cam gear on while I'm thinking about it. No particular reason. Again, you want to keep this cam gear loose to where it'll move independently of the camshaft just while you're timing everything up. And by doing that, you just don't get that tight yet. All right, go ahead and pop this bolt down in here. Make sure you get it into that recessed area. The sliding will improve in just a second. There we go. Then you can line up the bolt with that bolt hole and thread it in. All right, I finally got that lower bolt started there. What helped was to jiggle it up and down, and then that kind of helped pop the threads into place. So what do you say we get this front chain on now? Let's just make sure that our timing is still about 12 o'clock here. Make sure it's in time here. Yeah, that's flat right there. Flat spot. That's pointed straight up. And the shorter hoof is on the bottom. Just want to make sure nothing crazy happened. I don't know what's going on with this color saturation right now. All right, let's go ahead and slide this chain on in here. Luckily, once again, this is a Mustang, so I don't have the balance shaft chain, but if you do, it's up to you, but you can delete it if you want, or just, use the chain and tensioner you got in the kit for that. All right, guys, this is the hardest part of the job, hammering this woodruff key back in place here. And if you noticed, I did not actually have to take the woodruff key out in the first place to get that crank sprocket off there. So learn from my mistake. This is the hardest part of the job here. All right, so what did it for me was, right after I just complained about it, it went right in. So my advice is to whine and bitch and complain, and then everything will fix itself. Get that back on. Oh, nope, got to take the woodruff key out. All right, it might take some persuasion. You might need to tap it with a hammer to move it all the way in. And don't smash the chain behind it, lift that up. All right, so I think the problem was there's some Raymond burrs right here, and so it just made it difficult to get past that to this point here, but once I got past the halfway point, it slid right on. Just check for some Raymond burrs on here and sand them down if it's not smooth. But now I can lift this chain up here. Okay. I'm going to take my old used Jackshaft sprocket here, and with one hand, I'm going to put it into the chain. Okay. There we go, boys. All right, I'm going to take my new tensioner here. You see this little nub right here? It goes in the hole. Insert the nub into the hole. Okay, here we go. I get my 10mm bolts here and insert them into the other hole. There we go. Okay, here we go. There we go, buddy. You got this. Now, to put the tensioner on this side, and it ought to tighten her up. There we go. Line them boat hose up and put them 8mm bolts in them. 89 inch-pounds for these two, 14 foot-pounds for these two. One-time use bolt here for the Jackshaft, the E18. Stick that in, tighten it by hand. All right, now I'm going to torque the Jackshaft sprocket bolts. This one goes to 33 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. Yes, it's torque to yield. And this one goes to 15 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. Now how I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it off camera with my left hand. I'm going to hold the ratchet on this bolt here. My right hand, I'm going to hold the ratchet on this bolt here. Since this one gets torqued to a lower spec, I'm going to tighten this one first, 15 foot-pounds. Then I'm going to hold that still, and I'm going to tighten this to 33 foot-pounds. All right, so that means they're both torqued to their initial spec. All right, so at that point, I'm going to put a whiteout marker right here, 90 degrees, so the whiteout mark should be right here. Easy peasy. Same thing over here. Whiteout mark on the top, turn it until it's over here, 90 degrees. All right, it's working out perfectly. I do have the initial torque done, 15 and 33. Again, holding this to prevent the rotation of the Jackshaft while I torque this, and vice versa. Now, I mean, honestly, look how I've got this bolt marked right here and right here. When these two dots line up, that means it's been 90 degrees. Honestly, maybe I'll just impact it. You know, impact, ugga-dugga, pull off, see if it's lined up, ugga-dugga, ugga-dugga, like that. Hey, I mean, if it's lined up, it's lined up. Just be careful not to overdo it there and snap the bolt off. Then you'll need a jack shaft. Yeah, that worked perfectly. Here we go, lined up there. Now, one thing that did happen was the pin fell out of this tensioner here, so it is tensioned now. Right there. Now, luckily, on the rear here, even though I can't get an impact directly on it, since it's a lighter torque application than the front, I'll just, kind of like when I was, you know, doing the initial torque, I'll just hold a ratchet on here firmly, like to prevent it from rotating, and get my Torx 55 on here with that ratchet there, and rotate until the dots line up. You can sort of see the dot there at the tip of my finger. It's faded a little, but it needs to get down to right here. Man, did that work perfectly or what? I thought I was going to have to secure this front jack shaft sprocket to the block somewhere or something to prevent this from rotating. But no, all you got to do is hold it still with a ratchet. Get these guide bolts tight here. This one was 89 inch-pounds, and I do believe this bottom one was 9 foot-pounds, if I'm not mistaken. All right, well, I'm just going to go ahead at this point and pop this in with a mallet. She's all in, flush. All right, I've got this back on here. Make sure it's at number 1 top dead center. It should be flush with the block here. Since we know the crank is at top dead center, why don't we go ahead and make sure the cams are as well. Okay, and by that I mean put the timing tools on. Then at that point we can torque these guys here. I believe it's 64 foot-pounds. Lefty righty, lefty tighty, righty loosey on this right one here. All right, real quick here before my camera dies. Here's how to time one cam here. And all you got to do is repeat it on the other side. The first thing you want to do here is get the tensioner tool out of the timing tool kit, not the actual tensioner. The timing tool kit comes with one of these. Put that in first before you tighten anything, before you put any tools on. All right, so after you put that in, you're going to want to come up here, get this tool in. Now, this is a cheap Chinese tool, so what it's supposed to do is sit into those hooves there. You know, those shapes that look like this? Those slots there is where the tool goes in. Then you snug down on a 16mm bolt and you tighten these down, and that's supposed to align the cam, keep it at number 1, top dead center. If you're off a little bit, you can use vice grips to rotate it. Then after that, you've got this special tool on this side, the one that you have to torque, the bolt right here, through here. All right, so there's 2 rods right here. See the rod right there and down there? It slides into 2 recesses on the cam gears. This is what they look like. There's 2 holes right there. It doesn't matter which one you use, you're just trying to hold the cam gear still. So with this tool holding the cam where it's supposed to be, and with this tool holding the cam gear still, and the tensioner in, holding everything where it's supposed to be, tighten that to 63 foot-pounds. And if I didn't mention it already, this cheap Chinese kit's quirky. You got to hammer it into those U-shapes right there. Otherwise, it doesn't go in on its own. And I ran into that issue and actually mistimed the engine a little bit just now. So I had to go back, break that cam bolt loose, straighten the cam out. And then this time I hammered that in so that it's fully seated into the cam. Make sure that's fully seated, otherwise the cam's just going to spin when you tighten this bolt, even with all the tools in. So those are quirky Chinese tools, but that's how you do it. Do it on this side, repeat it on this side, then when you're done, take the tools off, take that tensioner tool out, put the real tensioner in, and you're good to go. You're timed. You can rotate the engine over a few times if you want, and then make sure it's at top dead center again. Make sure you see the U-shape right there. Make sure you see this sticking straight up and the U-shape on the other side, and you're good to go. Get the front cover on, get it back in the car, and you are done, sir. Have yourself a great day. Okay.